You see, that sphere at the center called Earth, Earth is an anagram for heart.
Yeah.
It is always the core of the system. Core means heart. And so this is the Logos is the creator of these worlds. The Logos means word. Word in Latin is verb. Verb is vibrate, vibration. Vibration is sound. Reverberate, radiate. Now, what this is showing is that the Lord, by ever which name we wish to call him, Jehovah, Allah, uses energies called electricity to create material worlds. And the powerhouse which produces this vibratory force is magnetism, divine magnetism. And this force of electricity is what's called the second creator, the demiurgos, the god of matter, because it vibrates, and it uses 5 different kinds of electricity. And the 5 different kinds of electricity are the same kinds that our body uses for the senses. There is a different electrical circuitry in our nervous system for eyes, for vision, for sight, for the sense of sight, and there is different electricity used for smell and for touch and for hearing. So light works on the sight and vibration works on the sound. Now, usually the 2 most common forms of electricity are those 2 there. And so this is where the Logos becomes the creator through sound, or the creator that produces through light. And so the sound that the creator uses is Om, or Atom, and this is why the Egyptians say all is Atum, and that is the sound of creation. And all theologies have this atomic, Adamic, God-like theology, because it's all based on atomic electrical vibration. Okay, so
Atom and Adam are etymologically similar too.
yeah, and notice you said etymologically, because what is etymology if not the science of atom? It's everything is the science of atom. So is your anatomy.
Yeah.
And so, and you will find, if you look at my presentations dealing with atom, you will understand this. It's pretty clear, because the ecliptic is called atom. The sine wave is called atom. That's the big secret. That's the big secret, that all sine waves are called atom. They are all atomic. So an atom is a sine wave. It's a thought wave universe. And so when you speak about the Logos, you have the first Logos, the first cause. Then you have the second expansion. So that would be Krishna. And then he expands into Balarama, his brother, and becomes Narayan, or Vishnu, or Mahavishnu. And then Mahavishnu is the creator of all the worlds, and then Brahma creates the physical worlds. And we'll have a look at that in a minute. But this is the Jewish Kabbalistic Hebrew system. Now, so you can see here, these are the 10 spheres, and at the very, very top is the cause and the source of all of this. Above the rose, the red rose of the Rosicrucians, you see that golden pyramid, and it points upward to the supernal empyrean. And so outside of these 10 conditions, of these 10 spheres in which we live, is the cause, the spiritual causes of these worlds, and that is the empyrean. And that is an unconditioned abode. And so out of that unconditioned abode comes all of these conditioned abodes that we witness, and we are living in one of those called the solar system. We call it a solar system, but it's a universe. We live in a universe unto itself, as we're going to see in a minute. And this is the Babylonian system. So you see a pyramid with 10 spheres or 10 steps, 7 steps upward and 7 steps downward. And in the middle is the 15th sphere, or you could call it a sphere, but it's a plane, it's a planet, and that is the Earth. Okay, so similar system. Here are some of the scriptures which really point to a flat Earth, and in the Bible, Isaiah is a good one here. Isaiah 40:22. He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. And so, other scriptures tell forth a lot of truth too. Joshua 10:13, where Joshua asked the Lord to make the sun stand still. Well, here this myth and cosmology is teaching that the sun has a trajectory. That's the hidden truth, the anagogic truth hiding behind these beautiful allegories and mythologies. Here is another scripture which I really enjoy. Actually, if you go back to Isaiah, it says, and continues saying, he stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. Well, if you remember my graphic of the tent-like TP structure in which the sun goes up to the Tropic of Cancer and very, very high up in the sky, and then goes down the TP on an incline to the Tropic of Capricorn. Well, this contraction expansion vortex that the sun is creating is this tent that is spread out, this tabernacle for the sun. And if you look at Psalms 19:4, it says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. There is no speech, nor are there words. Their voice is not heard. Their line," this is the ecliptic, "has gone out through all the earth, and their utterances to the end of the world. In them he has placed a tent for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. It rejoices as a strong man to run his course." So it shows there that the sun is truly marching along a circuit. It's making a circle in the sky. Now, here, if you spend some time here meditating on the analemma as it is superimposed upon the stereographic plane Earth, you will see how the analemma confirms and proves and is evidence of a flat Earth plane and a sun doing clockwise circles above the Earth plane. Now, it is my opinion that that the circles that the sun is doing are not perfectly concentric. And I believe that the sun is slightly off-centered, which causes the analemma shape in the sky. Otherwise, I believe that if it was concentric, the analemma would consist of a perfectly straight line.
Yeah.
Now, I might be wrong. There might be other explanations for this, but definitely, even with the ball Earth model, there is scientists know that the sun is further away from us at the Tropic of Cancer. In fact, they say it's about 3 million miles further away from the Earth, the sun is, and it's again 4 or 5 million miles closer to the Earth at the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, these figures are totally exaggerated because they assume and presume that the sun is 93 million miles away from us, which it is not. And you can just do simple tests to confirm that the sun's only a few thousand miles above our heads. So probably 4,000 miles, I don't know. Some say about 5,000, 5 or 6,000 miles.
It's really interesting how you were saying that the sun travels clockwise, that Mount Meru is in the center. As a Buddhist practitioner, we circumambulate the stupas, which are very much like the Mount Meru. When we make offerings, mandala offerings, we're actually building a mandala and calling it Mount Meru, and we're circumambulating when we're on pilgrimage around stupas in this exact format. So we're looking at the correlation between Vedic and Tibetan astrology, or the Eastern philosophies, in regards to the precession of the sun around this plane of existence.
Yeah, look, where people need to focus is on the ecliptic. And that's where I've always been pointing all the time in all of my presentations, regardless of the model which I've used, the erroneous Copernican model. It matters not what shape the Earth is for the sake of syncretism. Syncretism and the ecliptic stand on their own. They teach and they contain all of their own wisdom and knowledge, just standing on their own merits. The ecliptic is the teacher of all things, the sine wave, as it is a thought wave universe. Everything is waves. And so this wave can be best studied through the ecliptic, because it's a fractal that is large enough for us to contemplate quite easily. For instance, we can begin at the start of the sine wave at March the 21st, and we can go day for a day along the year, and we can have a look at all the holy days, and we can see that they all occur along the ecliptic in harmony with the sun traveling up and down its tent-like incline, upward to the Tropic of Cancer and downward to the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, take a look. If you've got a Christmas tree, take a look. Most people listening will have a Christmas tree standing somewhere in their homes. Have a look at the angle of that Christmas tree. Above the Christmas tree is always a 5-pointed star, and the Christmas tree is basically telling us about the sun on its incline traveling up to the Tropic of Cancer. See, it's now at the bottom of the Christmas tree. It's at the very bottom.
Yeah.
Right? It's Christmas Day is the 5th of December, and it has to go from the bottom of the Christmas tree up to the Tropic of Cancer, where Sirius, where the sun will be conjunct Sirius, its mother, in the Tropic of Cancer at the top of the Christmas tree. So you see, the science is already in place. All we have to do is focus on the ecliptic, and the ecliptic will teach us all things. And this is why tropical astrology is the foundation of all schools of astrology, all of them. All of them must bow down to tropical astrology, because the ecliptic and the constellations on the ecliptic are more influential and powerful, and the primary force of astrology in our solar system or solar cell. And so this is why it is always accurate in all of its applications. For instance, medical astrology is perfectly accurate in the tropical system. And also, when you look at the physiological features and characteristics of the each particular sign, you will see that they coincide only in the Western tropical system, whereas they are not correct. You cannot discern the physical facial features of a sign, astrological sign, using the sidereal system. It's out of sync, and I've proven that in my presentations. So here we have another flat Earth graphic, and you see the analemma. So you can see there very, very clearly that the larger portion of the analemma indicates that the sun is traveling much, much wider arced circles and much faster. It is actually definitely covering more territory in the so-called southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
And there is the analemma from the northern hemisphere perspective. If you went down to, say, Argentina and photographed the analemma for a year, you would find that the loop is upside down. Again, confirming the equidistant azimuthal plane is the correct one.
Amazing.
So I'll leave that for the viewer to read. Here we have again another depiction. You have a central magnetic north, where you have beautiful fertile lands above the Arctic Circle, and where you're not allowed to go, of course. And then you see a serpent-like Ouroboros on the outside perimeter, and this is the Antarctic region. And you see the pancakes below the Earth. They seem to indicate subterranean planetary systems.
Is that where Admiral Byrd went, do you think, brother?
Yeah, look, I'm not quite sure about Admiral Byrd. I tend to think that there might be more co-opting with those types. I don't trust the guy at all. You know, he might have been the youngest general or whatever and very intelligent, but you know, I just watch the man talk and I just don't trust him. I believe they are just, he was just there to, you know, dramatize the mineral and the material wealth of Antarctica and the Arctic regions, just to sort of give more authority to so-called governments to protect those areas and keep us away from there, and national security and blah 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 and all of this rot. I think they just schemed it up all along. But yes, I do believe that it is somewhere in those regions we have access to the inferior worlds, and this is where all your so-called aliens and, I don't know, reptilians, greys, ETs are coming from. They won't be coming from other universes, as will be showing in a couple of minutes. They'll be coming from below and not from above. So here we've got the city of Brahma just above the central magnetic mountain, in a dome-like structure. I don't believe it's like a physical dome. I think it's a luminous dome, just as the
energy dome, you say?
Yeah, well, it's all energy. I mean, even the Earth is just is a luminous body. It's just, we call it solid and dense because it's dense light. But the moon is of a different quality of light, and it's not solid like ours. The Earth is what we call terrestrial, but none of the planets are terrestrial. Mars is not terrestrial. They can't send probes there and to, you know, stroll around on the planet. They're not going to Mars. They're actually going to subterranean places, and they're lying. And Mars is not millions and millions, you know, 1 billion miles away. They're just a few thousand miles up, and they're stars, or rather they are luminous bodies. They are also demigods, archons, um, the demiurgos. They are the body of the demiurgos, the demiurge. They are the composite of Jehovah. They are one of Krishna's expansions. There's many ways to describe them, but they are definitely not terrestrial, and you can't go and, physical astronauts, you can't go there. For a start, they're not qualified. The Hindus teach that only qualified beings can go to the moon and the spheres after the moon. So only the rishis get to go there. Now, so at the bottom of this plane here, we see Jambudweep. Jambudweep is the flat point from where all of our Earth extends, from this central point here. And of course, this is Mount Meru, Mount Sumeru, Samaria, Moriah, Zion, Sinai, Olympus. This is all the sacred mountains, guys. It's all Magnetic Mountain in the center of the Earth plane. And so here we have the path of the sun. Again, you see the small red circle is Cancer, Tropic of Cancer. And this is why, please remember that all the ancients said that souls come in the gate of men at the Tropic of Cancer, and souls leave the solar system at the Tropic of Capricorn, which is called the gate of the gods. So keep that in mind when you envision this tent-like structure in which the sun goes up on a ramp to the Tropic of Cancer and down the ramp, Lamb of God, down to the Tropic of Capricorn. And so it is a ramp, and as it contracts up to the Tropic of Cancer, souls come into this cell. They filter down from the Milky Way galaxy, as Plato describes it, and then they come through all the rings, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. Then they come to the heart, Earth, same word. And then as the sun expands and it goes, expands, as it climbs down the ramp from the Tropic of Cancer, souls leave this plane from the Tropic of Capricorn. Here is an artist's impression of all the worlds, and as you will see there is a central tree, the Yggdrasil tree, where this toroidal field emanates from, and the plane projects outwardly, probably ad infinitum. We have no idea, but there's probably beyond Antarctica, there's probably other dome-like cell structures which are called universes, and they project forever on a plane, or perhaps it's finite, and it has a terminal point, and so. But nonetheless, what you're going to see is how the universe is created by the root cause of all causes, and how these material worlds are drawn back in again in one of the in-breaths of either Vishnu or Brahma. And
it's really interesting, looking at the birth and the death of Jesus, Horus, Dionysus, Attis, Adonis, all the sun gods. We're seeing the same story over and over again, where as you were talking before, it reminded me of the birth and the death of this sun god.
Yep. And the sun dies when it reaches the Tropic of Capricorn. It actually dies each time it passes a tropical point. In fact, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. But Capricorn is the nastiest one from the projection, or from the vantage point of the people who live in the Northern Hemisphere in particular, because you see, that brings the cold weather, which is cruel, and which is Saturnian, and Saturn is Satan, and so Saturn rules the winter, you see. And so, of course, yesterday was St. Tom's Day. Well, Tom is Saturn. You know, it's all of these dualistic gods who bring heat and cold. And so along the ecliptic, all of the sacred days that are close to the equinoxes and solstices all have to do with Tom and Thomas. Very interesting, isn't it?
It is.
So without syncretism, you can never really fathom the complete picture of the ancient cosmologies. You have to embrace all of the theologies and sciences. So what we have here, this is very clever artistic depiction of how the torus field centering this these two electrically charged dome-like structures. You see the blue above and the red below. Red always depicts infernal, hellish realms, and blue is always sky, heaven, God-like, and sort of more to do with a consciousness and I guess the spiritual nature of things, whereas red is usually depicting physical, the physical material world. Please keep this graphic in mind, because this one is very, very, very telling. And notice the torus field in the center of these two domes. Yeah, this is how it truly is. It has to be like this, as you will see in a minute. So this is what's going on, Eilish. You see here, you see the Yggdrasil tree. Okay, you see galaxies in the shape of an apple, in the shape of an Earth. They've put a globe in here erroneously, but you get the point. It's the core, it's the middle, and then they've put a man in here. They've put an apple in here. Well, what this is all about is torus fields. You see, because the original word for the bull was apis, and apis is the root of Apollo, the apples of Apollo. And so, and this is what an apple is. It's a bull. It's a torus field. You see the core of the apple, the heart of the apple, the heart of the tree, the heart of the human being. It's the core, the cardiac, the heart, the torus. And so this word apis, apple, Apollo, arbor, you see, this is why a tree is an arbor. Well, that arbor is really just an anagram for abra. Ab is app. App and ab are interchangeable. And so this is why you always have Krishna, the Lamb of God, is always playing with his cows, you see, or Tauruses, and he creates the Tauruses with his flute, you see. He just plays with his flute and he creates worlds. This is the first logos you were talking about before, because the world is created with vibration, whether it's the electricity of sound or whether it's the electricity of sight or smell. But they are electrical forces. They are vibratory fields, of toroidal fields. And the sine wave is wrapped around these little toruses, these little cows. Okay, or apples. You can call them apples. You can call them Apollos. You can call them Saturns. This is what Saturn's rings are doing. They're not rings, really. They're energy emanation. They're just fields of energy going outwardly in its torus field, because below the rings will be a red, the red portion of that energy, and then above Saturn's rings will be the blue.
Yeah.
Here we have the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, the Research Centre, the Army's Research Centre and Dryden Flight Research Facility. And in point 3 of the concluding remarks of this report, they say this report derives and defines a set of linearized system matrices for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Now, so why would they, train pilots in this, non-rotating Earth model? It's tantamount to putting square training wheels on your children's bicycles to train them with square wheels so that they can ride better later with circular wheels when they graduate from square wheels. It doesn't make sense. Flip-flopping from globular gravitational spheres to flat non-rotating plane is totally, can you imagine the havoc of flip-flopping between these two systems? Obviously, there is only one system, and that, as exposed here and admitted by this National Aeronautics and Space Administration, there's only one model, and that's the flat Earth non-rotating. And so this picture here is very handy to explain the vanishing point. And so from the viewer's viewpoint, vantage point, they would see everything in the on the flat Earth. They would see it disappear on the horizon, no matter how big it is, and no matter whether it's a luminous body like the sun. It will set, quote unquote, set, because it has to vanish as it gets further away. And so this argument of the sun setting and it appears to go over the horizon and under is totally erroneous, and it is a truth of appearances. It's not an absolute truth. So, but to absolutely prove that the sun is circling above a flat plane, all you need to do is go up in a jet. And these days, they are kind enough to take you up to about 45,000 feet, I believe. And so what you will see when you look out the left window and the right window is that the horizon comes up to your eye level.
Yeah.
And no matter how big the circumference, they say the circumference of the Earth is 25,000 miles. Now, even if it was 250 million miles in circumference, you would not see the horizon at 45,000 feet in altitude come up to your eye level. You simply wouldn't see that. You would see a falling away, or at least...
Right. There would be a drop-off point where you just wouldn't see buildings anymore, tall buildings.
No.
I find it remarkable. I live in Geelong, and from where I live on the hill, I look over the bay and I can see the high rises in Melbourne across the bay, in Port Phillip Bay. And if we were living on a ball Earth, those buildings that I see across the water, across quite a big bay, I wouldn't be able to see them. Those buildings would have fallen away, but I see them across the water. And some people might say, oh yes, but that's because we're on a really big globe. But there's and I've been watching a lot of Eric Dubai's arguments about this, about the distance, and about how buildings should start looking like they're on an angle because you're dipping over the edge, and you never see that. They're always straight, and you can see them no matter how far you go, just with a telescope.
Yeah, exactly. There's been some shenanigans going on in the media with photographs of Chicago, clearly seen 100 miles across the Lake Michigan, and you can actually see the whole skyline, all of it, not just the tops of the buildings. You can see it, all of it, and it actually ramps up. You can see in the picture that the Chicago skyline actually ramps up to your eye level. There's no falling away at all. And so this is the marvelous thing. How is it that people in the city of Genova in Italy can actually see Corsica 99 miles away and the island of Elba 125 miles away? Now, that should be about 8,000 feet below the level, and yet you're sitting in a cafe in Geneva and you can just see the whole island of Elba rising up like a ramp to your horizon. You can sit there and drink coffee and just watch it. And supposedly we're living on a globe with a circumference of 25,000 miles. Man, you should be able to see arc and drop off with the imperfect eyesight that we have as humans. We should be able to see it just within eyeshot, anywhere. Now, when I go driving around in the mountains here near the ocean, I can see ocean for hundreds of miles, and the whole skyline is flat, and it ramps up to my eye level, and I'm on the mountains. I'm standing on the mountains, and I can see flat Earth ramping up to my eye level, 360 degrees around me. Now let's continue on. Here we have Mahavishnu, or Narayan, the four-armed version of Krishna, dreaming, and from his navel a lotus stem comes forth, and he creates all these bubbles, all these universes, where his causal energy is distributed in expansions infinitely through the universe. And so what we have here is we have a creative process. And this is what I'm going to, in a minute, we're going to go back to this chart here. Eilish, can you see this?
Yep.
You can, okay. Well, what we have here is the Vedic system, and the pink lotus at the very, very top, this is the causal world, as you can see. That's Krishna's abode. That's called Vrindavan. And then below that, there's a middle white portion. That's the white light. That's the effulgence of the creator, the prime creator. And that's what's called Brahmajyoti. And that's the white light of the creator. And so that separates the spiritual superior world from the inferior physical world below. And this is where we are. We live in one of these bubbles, one of these spheres. So we live inside a sphere. And what we're going to do later is we're going to have a look at this here. Can you see where my cursor is?
Yep.
Right. Well, in the middle of these are 15 planets, and 7 of them are heavenly planets, and hence subtle, and those are Moon through Saturn. And then in the middle is the Earth, and that is gross and subtle. And then below us are 7 planes called the gross planets. And this is a universe. Okay, so we're going to have a look at that. And so this explains why the ancients are always creating dome-like structures for their religious edifices. Because what they are doing is they are mimicking or copying the heavens. You see, these are these are resembling the nature of the spiritual world around us and how the physical world is an effect of it. These are symbols, and notice how some of these domes, the artwork inside them, like the Sistine Chapel, has all of the account of creation, and you'll be surprised to see that the account is very scientific. It's very cosmological and mythological, and you need to understand how to interpret the artwork of the likes of Michelangelo. You cannot interpret these literally. There's no literal rendition that will give justice to these beautiful works of art. But I would like to tackle that one day myself and show the true story of creation and how it is. Here is how this dome-like structure is perceived by the alchemists. The firmament is the sphere in which we have to leave to become enlightened and illumined, because outside of that sphere there is no sunshine. There is a different kind of light. It's a superior light.
So the disclosure with the Truman Show, and even terms like the Thunderdome, you know, like in Hollywood, there's disclosure. These are the, oh yeah, and we're seeing nuts there, or nut there. These are all disclosures revealing the nature of what we're living in, a disc dome or a disc, flat disc within a sphere, as you said.
Yep. Yep. See, the goddess Nut, the starry dome, had to be held up. What that's showing is that there are forces at work to keep our cosmos functioning, you know, and those forces are called netas, which we call natural, which we call the gods. And so all this so-called worship of the gods is not actually worship of the gods at all. It is worship through the gods to worship one God. And that one God is a trinity. You will always see a trinity of gods, Isis, Osiris, and Horus. Or you will see Krishna, Balaram, and Radharani. Or you will see, you know, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This is a divine, sacred secret. Many people, excuse me.
Or Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva in the Hindu tradition.
Yep, exactly. And so, but notwithstanding it being a trichotomy, God, it is still one God, and it is a God of person and a God of form. It has spiritual form. You see, some people say, "Oh, God is formless. God is white light." No, that's God's effulgence. But behind the effulgence is a person, a form with qualities: love, endless love, justice, wisdom, knowledge, wealth, abundance, and is the fountain and source of all things in all potencies. And there is nothing lacking in that person, you see. And we are of that person. We are units, deific units of that person.
We are atoms.
Yes, we are atoms. All is atom. So we are Adamites. Of course we are Adamites because we have an atomy made of atoms. And so in order for us to be persons with individuality, there has to be a source causal person. And for us to have a form, you see, we look at this body and we think we are the body, but we are not. We have a spiritual form. which causes this form. And so it's that so-called formless part of us which manifests this this form, physical form that we see. And so continuing on with the slides, because I want to get back to that graphic. How much time do we have remaining there, Eilish?
We've got half an hour, Santos.
Mm-hmm.
And some viewers were wondering if they could call in, but finish your presentation first, and then if we have time, we might answer questions.
Yeah, we can do that. I'm nearly finished. So there's the UN flag. There's a lot of symbolism here, guys. A lot of symbolism here. And unfortunately, a lot of half-cocked so-called truthers are going out there saying that the Flat Earth movement is a psyop by the Jesuits, and they're trying to sell us a flat world order and so forth. They're half-cocked, and they need to do their research properly, and they need syncretism, you know, quite frankly. The psyop is the ball, and it's been around since the early 1500s, and that is the only psyop that is keeping us in a prison, in a cult of shortage and scarcity worshippers. These creatures that in government that subscribe to these shortage notions, they are controlled by the demonic forces from the planes below our Earth. That's where they're coming from, man. Those guys down there, they want to control what goes on our planet, because we're supposed to be in paradise. We're supposed to be enjoying paradisaical conditions and brotherly love and bliss, and you can't have perfect bliss on planes, on planets. You can only have bliss on spiritual planets. There is no bliss, pure bliss, on any material planets in the universe, period. So there's your Santa ball. Sorry?
Yeah. They're topping from the bottom. They're dominating beneath us.
Yeah.
Santa ball.
Yeah, the Santa ball. So what I want to do now is the last thing I want to do is go to my graphic here. Gee, where did I go? Where did it go?
Just go back.
Let me see. Here we go. Let's do it this way. All right. What I want to do now is finish with this, and then we can do questions and answers. And so the middle portion here, Eilish, this is the white light where the Maya Davis go. And a Maya Davi is someone who preaches that all is one. God is light, white light, and they teach that we can actually merge with that light and be in bliss forever in that white light. Well, that's true. It is very true, but it's not the absolute truth. And the absolute truth is that beyond the white light there is a being, there is a person in which there is a spiritual world totally separate from this world in which we live, where activity can happen forever in one mode of time, which is the forever present, the forever now. So this is the forever world of now, and outside of that world, below the Brahmananda or Brahmajyoti world here in the middle, is the inferior worlds. And that's what I want to do. I want to expand on that and go down in there and have a look at what's going on in there. So basically what you can see down the bottom here is you can see Vishnu is dreaming up this world through his navel and the lotus that is growing. And what you have here is
Navel gaze.
Sorry?
Navel gazing.
Yeah. Look, because in the spiritual world, the senses are intermingled. You see, in the physical worlds, we can only see with our eyes. We can't see with our ears. We can't hear with our eyes. And vice versa. Each energy is specialized, and we can only in the Kali Yuga we can only use the organs for one sense. You see, whereas in the spiritual world, the senses can perform all the other functions of all the other senses, and so. To create is merely a wish. It's merely a dream. And so Mahavishnu, creates this expansion. And you see here we have virtually Brahma's world now. And this is the world of 2 octaves. Okay, so what you will see here in this world is you will see the Earth is in the middle. They've actually got it depicted here as a sphere, which hopefully will be corrected very, very soon, because the Vedic people and the Hare Krishnas are very, very conscious and very knowledgeable of the transcendental science. So, and what this is the middle planet. Okay, this is the heart chakra of the whole system, if you like. And above us are the higher planets, which are subtle. And you'll notice that the very highest planet is called Satyaloka. Well, that Sat, that is actually Saturn. Same word as Saturn. And then, of course, you'll remember the first graphic I showed you in the Kabbalistic system. This is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and then here is the Earth plane. And then underneath this plane, there are 7 lower planets. And the lowest planet here, this is Patala, and these are the hellish planets. And the amount of pleasure in these realms is very, very limited. It's much more limited than what we should have on our Earth, although the creatures who come from Atala and Vitala and Sutala and who pretend to be kind, loving aliens from other worlds, they're actually controlling our planet so much to the point that our level of bliss has been severely diminished. And so what is happening is these planets are all swimming in their own waters, as the Earth is, cosmic waters, and they are all planes, equally as large as our Earth, and they are below our Earth. And basically life graduates from here and gets to incarnate on our planet, and then from there we take on the heroic nature. We become a Hebrew or a Jew in the Kabbalistic system. In the Greek system we become a hero. In the Vedic system we become a demigod, or we take on their energy. And so as you go up higher, to get out of this bubble, these sphere-like worlds, we need to escape, basically. And that's what the churches are supposedly there for us to do, to help us to escape from these material planes. So if you go to the Hare Krishnas, they will teach you that if you chant the Maha Mantra, which is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, 16 words, you will go to Krishna Loka. You will not go to the white light, and where you will enjoy. Let me show you what they call it. See, they call that Brahmananda, which is called the all-pervading impersonal bliss. So most of your go on.
It's also a model. It's also a perfect model of samsara, the Buddhist version of what we're talking about here. This is a finite system, both with upper realms and lower realms, but they're all they do have a finite quality to them, and it's the nirvanas, the higher universes of the omniverse that we need to aspire to. So this is still the multi dimensions of suffering and impermanence that we're having a look at here on this universal model of the flat planes of existence. But then we can reach higher realms, and this is what the Buddhist masters teach too. So Dowan Santos, it's correlating a lot with other Eastern philosophies I've studied.
Absolutely, it must correlate, because that's what syncretism does. It correlates and sees the interrelatedness of all things. And so the beautiful worlds of opulence and sweetness to which we aspire and we long for, our soul is longing to be reunited with our, creator, or with the beautiful world from which all other worlds emanate from, the bliss, the place of bliss, and there are different regions and grades of bliss that we can enjoy in that world, but we must escape the material world. So the Brahmajyoti is everything above Brahmajyoti. From Brahmajyoti upward is blissful, and it is what the Hindus call Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. So Sat means existence, and that's the root of Saturn, Sat, S-A-T.
Yep.
It's the root of the word truth and existence. And so time, existence is time, and Saturn is old man Kronos. So there is existence, and Chit means knowledge or consciousness, and so there is consciousness, and Ananda means bliss. So everything from Brahmajyoti upward, and you'll notice that the kingdoms above Brahmajyoti, notice this word here. What's that word there? Aishvarya Dham. You see that word Dham?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's spelled D-H-A-M-A. You don't pronounce the last A, so you've got Dham. That is Adam. Okay.
Oh, Adam. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is predominated by Krishna's opulence, and this is like the throne of God, and this is where people go, like your good churchgoers who want to go beyond the white light and who want to worship God. And so there's a place where you can go, where you can actually worship and be a worshipful being, individual, forever worshiping God in bliss. And then above that is the highest of all worlds, and it's a more personal world where the true person of God is, and that place is called you can see here Madhura Dham. So this is the highest Adam. This is, the first Logos, as you were speaking about before, and that is this is a world predominated by sweetness. And in that world, you can have three forms of love for the Creator. You can have brotherly love, brotherly or sisterly, You can have fatherly love, fatherly or motherly, and the highest of all loves that you can express for the Supreme Being is conjugal. And so this is why the alchemists talk about the alchemical marriage,
Yeah.
the alchemical wedding, because we can be wed with the Supreme Being. We can be the wife or the husband of that being, and that being is not necessarily masculine or feminine. It is above these categorizations. It is Krishna is always with Radharani, his wife, mother, consort, goddess, lover. And so where there is one, there is always two. Where there is two, there is always three.
Yeah.
And so this world, the highest world, is where Bhagavan exists, and Bhagavan is God the personal. And below God the personal is Paramatma, and Paramatma is a mixture of personal and impersonal, the super soul of the universe. And then below that is Brahman, and that is the impersonal effulgence of the Creator, and that's where people can live forever without their individuality. They all are absorbed into the one, and where they enjoy what is called here, quite appropriately, I think, the all-pervading impersonal bliss. So there's no activity there. There is no action. Whereas personally, I aspire to go to the top. I would rather be active.
Yeah.
And so there's just a brief, a brief view of the ancient cosmology and how they all tie in with the flat Earth plane. And it's easy to see that we've been hoodwinked, Eilish. We've been put on a false projection, a false plane, in order to control us, and through shortages. So if we understand that there are worlds beyond and universes, and each pocket of known worlds is actually a universe unto itself. So our solar cell, our solar system, whatever you want to call it, is a universe. It's spherical inside, and in the very, very heart of it is a plane, and it's strung out like a musical instrument. There are 7 tones below which make an octave, a diatonic octave, and there are 7 planets so-called above which make another diatonic octave. And again, the number 16 prefigures in all of our theologies the 16 words of the Mahamantra, the 16 petals of the throat chakra. It's just the degrees of the width of the analema at the top is 16, and then 32 doubled at the bottom. And so what we have here is the true cosmology is coming back. And so we're going to open our eyes as to where we live, and we are going to neutralize the liars by taking away their pet favorite psyop lie, and pull the carpet from under their feet. And you watch and see how that is going to change politics forever in our little universe.
Politics for sure, because it suggests a divine, intelligent creator, and that's what they don't want. They don't want to see us aspire to go beyond the dome into what's beyond the dome,
Well, it's more sinister than that. Our souls are eternal, and the bodies are not. the body dies, and if you could watch the life of your body through a time-lapse video camera, all you would see was a very, very healthy torus field at the start of your life when you were young. Excuse me, excuse me, I've got a some kind of a pollen thing happened today. My nose is really, really extremely itchy. I've been scratching it for about 2 hours now. And so what was I saying? Sorry.
You were saying it's more sinister than that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me sort all this sneezing stuff out. Our souls are eternal, and our souls qualify to go to the highest of the abodes. You see, Jesus said, "In my Father's mansion, in my Father's house, there are many, many mansions." We don't have to go to the void, as some voidists and nihilists are teaching. They are teaching that there is no God, no creator, no soul, no birth, no death. It's all an illusion. And then when your life, your body goes to the grave, you go back to the void. These are truths, but they are half-truths. And why should we buy into them when we can have absolute truth? And absolute truth is easy to get. You just have to do research, study. You just have to be not lazy. That's all you have to do, and you can find absolute truth. It's there, and you can do this quite easily with a sincere heart and a reasonable amount of intelligence that you bring to the table. And the absolute truth is that our souls are the same in quality and substance as the prime creator, Krishna, Allah, Jehovah. And qualitatively, we are God. We are the same as God, but not quantitatively. So our source is from the highest source, and we qualify by good virtuous acts and deeds to go to the highest places and live in sweetness and opulence, immortally, forever in bliss, in pure bliss, unconditioned bliss. And we don't even have to. Be content with going to the white light as the monists teach. The monist will teach you, and a lot of these gurus kicking around these days, they're all teaching this: you are God. You are all that is and all that ever was and all that is will be, and you will go back to God, the light, and merge with him and be with him. And that's basically spiritual suicide, and that's fine. I mean, people want to do that. They don't want to be active. They don't want to have activity. They want to, merge with the one, the impersonal Holy Spirit force of the Creator, and stay there. And they may even do that. They may do that forever, or they may stay there for infinite amounts of time and then revert back to an active, more active worship and activity toward the Creator. So the Brahmajyoti white light, this is for people who want to have a neutral love for the Creator. They don't want to have any kind of activity. They know the Creator. They love the Creator, but it's a neutral love. And so the truth that is being held from us is this particular truth, that we can choose consciously where we want to go forever. And by keeping us on a ball that evolved through materialistic mechanisms and causes, we now have a really a purely atheistic construct which does not acknowledge any sort of causal influence on this construct, and which is, you know, which is totally unacceptable, and you know, causes them to go around theorizing in circles forever, and always, you know, acquiring knowledge but never coming to an accurate knowledge of truth. So the true model of the flat plane, it really settles all of the endless arguments about gravity, and it's, you know, it's going to go on forever and ever because it simply doesn't exist. It's rather the laws of density and buoyancy which have always been there, and which we've always contemporaneously enjoyed and subscribed to at the same time as we commit a practice of cognitive dissonance and subscribe to the gravity ball erroneous model. So it's interesting that we can have so much cognitive dissonance, and that the truth is still there. You know, we know that on the flat Earth, the laws of density and buoyancy and electromagnetism rule, and yet we default to what's been drilled into us through education, through erroneous means and pseudoscience, and we flip-flop through both of them. And it's just quite incredible how when you study and research this subject, you'll find that on the one hand there is no evidence, no facts, no proofs, and no truths. And on the other side, weighing in favour of the flat Earth, there is only evidence, only proof, only facts, and only truths. So, you know, it's a done deal as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy that I've married syncretism with the flat Earth model now. And for the intelligent ones, I've noticed that not many intelligent people ask, oh, how does that now work with syncretism and the models that you've used in the past in your presentations? Surely now that, you know, you can't explain any of that. And I don't get any intelligent people asking those questions, because they know, as I know, and as I've always taught and teach in my presentation, that that everything comes from the ecliptic. And so I've explained how the ecliptic is produced. It's more correct than the ludicrous ball, Santa ball, buffoon theory. And so now that's all you have to do. Basically, you can still watch all of my presentations, and all you have to do is have the true model in your mind, and your intelligence will help you to see that it all still works perfectly. All right.
Thank you, Santos. We have to go now. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
Yeah, and thank you to CCN. We'll see you again next week on We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For.
Thank you.
Esta idea me vino hoy especialmente cuando vi otra vez una chica ahí pidiendo dinero por la calle. Actually, I must say first, this idea today I got especially when I saw again one girl begging for money in the streets. Me gustaría ayudar, pero yo tampoco me sobra mucho el dinero. I would really like to help everybody, but I don't have either too much money. And así que me vino la siguiente idea. So I got the following idea. Es más bien un juego. It's rather a game. Lo que es muy importante, elegir un monedero de Bitcoin que solo tú misma tienes la llave privada. What is very important to choose Bitcoin wallet company which you only possess the private key. For example, blockchain.info. Por ejemplo, la empresa blockchain.info. Luego, imprimir en papel la llave privada y también guardarlo tú mismo. Then to print in paper the private key and of course save for yourself that private key. Bueno, ya estamos imprimiendo, imprime por lo menos 10. So now we are already printing, so at least print 10 directions, 10 direcciones. Luego pones algo de Bitcoin, una cantidad, lo que te da la gana en esta dirección. Then you put some Bitcoin, the amount, whatever you want, in these directions. Y la próxima vez que sales de casa ya tienes algo que dar a los que están ahí pidiendo por la calle. And the next time you go out of the house, you have already something to give for these people who are begging on the streets. Y por ejemplo, y claro, para tus amigos, amigas, and for your friends, of course. Eso da motivación a la gente para aprender Bitcoin y this gives motivation for the people to learn about Bitcoin. Y la parte del juego consiste en lo siguiente, and the game part consists in the following. Explicas a la gente, mira, esta es la clave privada, que es la clave secreta. You explain to the people, look, this is the private key, which must be secret. And you have it, and me, and explicas, esa persona y yo mismo la tiene. Y antes pensaba en 5 años, pero luego cambié un poco de idea de hasta 4 años. First I thought of 5 years, but then I changed my opinion to 4 years, later explain. Después lo explico por qué. Les dices, mira, tienes 4 años para poner esta cantidad de Bitcoin a otra dirección. Si no lo has quitado después de 4 años, yo lo quito. So you explain them, you have 4 years to take this Bitcoin out of this direction, of this secret key direction. If you don't do it, I do it after these 4 years, so you lose this it's this part of the game, es la parte del juego. He creado este hashtag BTC4 para hacerlo un poco popular. I created this hashtag BTC4 to make it a little popular. Antes pensaba en 5 años, pero luego cambié a 4 porque te has dado cuenta que en Los Simpson la gente tiene 4 dedos y solo Dios tiene 5 dedos. First, I thought of 5 years, but then I changed my mind to 4 years. Did you notice that in The Simpsons, people have 4 fingers and only God has 5 fingers? I'll show some pictures. Voy a enseñar algunas imágenes de Los Simpsons, de los manos y dedos de Simpsons. Some pictures of the hands and fingers of Simpsons. Pero antes quiero recordar que es muy probable que en también 4 o 5 en los próximos años el valor de Bitcoin puede subir mucho. Just want to remember before that the price of Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin can rise very much in these next years. Así que si solo pones una cantidad pequeña, más tarde puede ser de gran ayuda. Even if you just put a little small amount, later it can be big help. No solo para, bueno, es un juego. Si la persona lo quita antes de 4 años, es para esta persona. Si no, es para ti, si te recuerdas y guardas bien la llave privada. So this is the game part. If the person takes the money out, it's for that person. But if they forget it after these 4 years, you can take it out. And it can be really...
Bueno, imprimir también la llave pública y la llave privada. Y si, por ejemplo, okay, first translate. Print not just the private key, but also the public key. Así que si, por ejemplo, explicas a la gente, mira, si alguna persona quiere enviarte Bitcoin, pero tú no tienes ninguna dirección, así que puedes dar esta llave pública a la persona. Mira, muy bien, la llave pública, no la llave secreta. Das a esa persona o cualquier persona y te pueden enviar Bitcoin a esa dirección. So remember, the public key you can give to anybody, and if somebody wants to send you some Bitcoin and this person doesn't have any, so you have already this public address where they can send you Bitcoin.
¿Qué es Bitcoin? Bitcoin es la primera moneda digital descentralizada. Los Bitcoins son monedas digitales que puedes enviar a través de Internet. Comparado con otras alternativas, Bitcoin tiene numerosas ventajas. Los Bitcoins son transferidos directamente de persona a persona a través de la red sin pasar por un banco u otro intermediario. Esto significa que las comisiones son mucho menores, puedes usarlo en cualquier país, tu cuenta no puede ser congelada y no hay prerequisitos o límites arbitrarios. Miremos cómo funciona. Los Bitcoins son generados en todo Internet por cualquiera con un programa gratuito llamado minero de Bitcoin. Crear Bitcoins requiere una cierta cantidad de trabajo para cada bloque de monedas. Esta cantidad se ajusta automáticamente por la red para que los Bitcoins siempre sean creados a un ratio predecible y limitado. Tus bitcoins se guardan en tu billetera digital, que te resultará familiar si usas banca digital. Cuando transfieres bitcoins, una firma electrónica es añadida. Pasados unos minutos, la transacción es verificada por el minero y es almacenada permanente y anónimamente por la red. El software de Bitcoin es completamente abierto y cualquiera puede revisar el código. Bitcoin está cambiando las finanzas de la misma manera que la web ha cambiado el periodismo. Cuando cualquiera tiene acceso al mercado global, florecen grandes ideas. Miremos algunos ejemplos de cómo los bitcoins están usándose hoy en día. Puedes comprar videojuegos, regalos, libros, servidores y calcetines de alpaca. Existen varias casas de cambio donde puedes intercambiar tus bitcoins por dólares, euros y más. Los bitcoins son una gran forma para que pequeños negocios y autónomos reciban publicidad. No cuesta nada empezar a aceptarlos, no hay cargos o comisiones y recibirás negocio adicional de la economía Bitcoin. Para tus primeros bitcoins y más información, visita weusecoins.com.
Bueno, ahora voy a enseñar algunas imágenes de los dedos de Simpsons. Now I'll show some pictures of the fingers of Simpson. The 4 fingers, los 4 dedos y 5 dedos de Dios. The 4 fingers and 5 fingers of God of Simpsons.
The 13th of March.
Español, English, Deutsch. Normalmente produzco solo vídeos en inglés y español. Normally I produce only videos in English and Spanish. Normalerweise produziere ich nur Videos en Englisch und Spanisch. Pero hoy voy a hacer otra excepción y traducirlo también en alemán. But today I make another exception and translate it into German too. Aber heute werde ich nochmal eine Ausnahme machen und es auch in Deutsch übersetzen. Ya algunas semanas tengo escrito en mi lista de tareas por hacer de traducir el video #BTC4. Now already some weeks ago I have written on my to-do list to translate the video BTC4, #BTC4. Schon seit ein paar Wochen habe ich auf meiner To-Do-Liste geschrieben, den Video BTC4 in Deutsch zu übersetzen. Estoy segura que esta idea puede ayudar a mucha gente económicamente. I'm sure that this can help many people economically. Ich bin sicher, dass diese Idee vielen Leuten finanziell helfen kann. Y da motivación para aprender Bitcoin. And give motivation to learn about Bitcoin. Und Motivation geben, um über Bitcoin zu lernen. En este momento el precio de Bitcoin es muy bajo, económico. At the moment the price of Bitcoin is very low, economic. Im Moment ist der Preis von Bitcoin sehr tief. Sería el momento ideal para invertir. Hoy es el 15 de abril 2015. Would be the ideal moment to invest. Today is April 15th, 2015. Es wäre der ideale Moment zu investieren. Heute ist der 15. April 2015. El 27 de marzo 2015 he publicado en mi canal de YouTube Vanos Enigma el primer vídeo sobre hashtag BTC4 explicando cómo me vino esta idea. On March 27th of 2015, I published the first video about hashtag BTC4 in my channel YouTube Vanos Enigma, explaining how I got the idea. Am 27. März 2015 habe ich in meinem YouTube-Channel Vanos Enigma den ersten Video über Hashtag BTC4 veröffentlicht und erklärt, wie ich diese Idee bekommen habe. La idea consiste principalmente en lo siguiente. The idea mainly consists in the following. Die Idee besteht hauptsächlich in folgendem. Imprimir direcciones de Bitcoin en papel, 10 o mínimo 10 o mejor 100. To print Bitcoin directions in paper, at least 10 or better 100. Bitcoin-Adressen in Papier ausdrucken, mínimo 10 oder besser gleich 100. Y luego poner en cada dirección de Bitcoin una pequeña cantidad de Bitcoin. And then put in every Bitcoin direction a little amount of Bitcoin. Und dann in jede Bitcoin-Adresse eine kleine Summe von Bitcoin transferieren. Y la próxima vez, cuando otra vez ves una persona por la calle pidiendo dinero, and the next time you see again a person begging for money on the street, und das nächste Mal, wenn du wieder eine Person auf der Straße beten siehst, y para tus amigos y amigas, and for your friends of course, und für deine Freunde natürlich, o tal vez de propina en un restaurante, or maybe a tip in a restaurant, oder Trinkgeld im Restaurant. Bueno, a la hora de imprimir también copiar y guardar las llaves privadas de Bitcoin, de direcciones de Bitcoin. when you print the Bitcoin addresses, copy and save the private keys of the Bitcoin addresses, of course. Wenn man die Bitcoin-Adressen druckt, auch die privaten Schlüssel, Bitcoin-Address-Schlüsseln kopieren und speichern. Y a la hora de distribuir las direcciones de Bitcoin, escribir la fecha, por ejemplo, hoy es el 15 de abril 2015, escribir la fecha más plus 4 años, igual 15 de abril 2019. And then in the moment when you distribute the Bitcoin addresses, you write the date, for example, today, April 15th, 2015, plus 4 years is April 15th, 2019. Und dann in dem Moment, wenn man die Bitcoin-Adressen verteilt, auf das Papier schreiben, das heutige Datum, zum Beispiel 15. April 2015, plus 4 Jahre ist gleich 15.04.2019. Luego vas a explicar a la gente, mira, esta es la llave privada, tú y yo la tienes. Si no quitas, transfieres este dinero de Bitcoin en estos 4 años, yo lo vuelvo a tener o sacar. Then you explain to the people, look, this is the private key. I have it and you have it. If you don't take this money, Bitcoin, out of this account, I will take it out in these 4 years, at the end of these 4 years. Und dann erklärst du den Leuten, schau, das ist der private Schlüssel. Ich und du haben diesen privaten Schlüssel, Bitcoin-Schlüssel. Wenn du bis Ende dieser 4 Jahre das Geld Bitcoin nicht raustust, Transfer, dann hole ich es zurück. De esta forma das más motivación a la gente para empezar a aprender cómo funciona Bitcoin. This way you give more motivation to the people to learn how the technology of Bitcoin functions. Auf diese Weise gibst du mehr Motivation den Leuten zu lernen, wie die Technologie von Bitcoin funktioniert. En mi video antiguo
inherently and historically opposed to secret society, secret oaths, and to secret procedures. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it.
Face the facts, join our hands, make a stand. It's time to gather plans, get the shot, take the chance. Till there is no one left, stay correct to the death. They can't ever break a freedom, we will never let it. The corrupt politics is killing the system. Cynicism is sitting, it's everything that you witness. They tell you what to think, make you believe that they're the realness. They feed us full of lies and yet we always forgive them. Huh? It's all conspiracy, and if you're feeding into it, you're the puppet. The government's pulling strings from above you. It's time for the introduction to truth, and let's start a a movement. We've all been brainwashed. They believe that we all are stupid. We believe in what we see and whatever our ears are hearing. But if you look close, listen, gather your own opinion, you'll understand all the lies, lines, and what's between them. This word is not your oyster. This word is a fucking prison. Come on. To what's happening in our nation. No one will stand up for the fear of assassination. So they strip us of everything. We stand there and just take it. Scared to make a stand, a false flag operation. Research Illuminati, find out by 9/11. You see they line their pockets, don't believe the lies they tell you. Find and seek the truth, realize we need to do whatever it is we can to protect our livelihood. It's time for us to prove whether conspiracy or not. They owe some explanations to the questions that we got. What are the skull and bones? What is lying beneath all these secretive meats? Got you lying between your teeth. What's with the Bilderberg and burning your effigies? I'm praying to Lucifer. How Satanist can you be? While all of the time praying you believing in the peace just to keep up appearances within Christianity. Come on. Stay strong when they try to shut us down or turn around, let us storm them. We got the warnings, let us march from the morning through the night. We gon' fight and close the eye and overthrow all these damn secret societies. Why we gotta stand for the new world proprieties? The evidence is clear, we're naive to the lies. Illuminati wolves kill the sheep in the night. When will we learn? When will we see what is right underneath all our eyes? This whole time realize we've been deceived and they're trying to deplete us. They brainwashed our minds, may our souls stay free from corruption. Never trust them, let them get ahead. Even if we chant a march to the very end. Nevertheless, let them know we will never rest. Till I bid in my Beatrium Noster head. Come on. You'll never take control. Your new world order will lead to
As a Buddhist practitioner, we circumambulate the stupas, which are very much like the Mount Meru. When we make offerings, mandala offerings, we're actually building a mandala and calling it Mount Meru, and we're circumambulating when we're on pilgrimage around stupas. In this exact format. So we're looking at the correlation between Vedic and Tibetan astrology or the Eastern philosophies in regards to the precession of the sun around this plane of existence.
Yeah, look, where people need to focus is on the ecliptic. And that's where I've always been pointing all the time in all of my presentations, regardless of the model which I've used, the erroneous Copernican model. It matters not what shape the Earth is for the sake of syncretism. Syncretism and the ecliptic stand on their own. They teach and they contain all of their own wisdom and knowledge, just standing on their own merits. The ecliptic is the teacher of all things, the sine wave, as it is a thought wave universe. Everything is waves. And so this wave can be best studied through the ecliptic because it's a fractal that is large enough for us to contemplate quite easily. For instance, we can begin at the start of the sine wave at March the 21st, and we can go day for a day along the year, and we can have a look at all the holy days, and we can see that they all occur along the ecliptic in harmony with the sun traveling up and down its tent-like incline upward to the Tropic of Cancer and downward to the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, take a look. If you've got a Christmas tree, take a look. Most people listening will have a Christmas tree standing somewhere in their homes. Have a look at the angle of that Christmas tree. Above the Christmas tree is always a 5-pointed star, and the Christmas tree is basically telling us about the sun on its incline traveling up to the Tropic of Cancer. See, it's now at the bottom of the Christmas tree. It's at the very bottom, through all the earth, and their utterances to the end of the world. In them he has placed a tent for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber. It rejoices as a strong man to run his course. So it shows there that the sun is truly marching along a circuit. It's making a circle in the sky. Now, here, if you spend some time here meditating on the analemma as it is superimposed upon the stereographic plane Earth, you will see how the analemma confirms and proves and is evidence of a flat Earth plane and a sun doing clockwise circles above the Earth plane. Now, it is my opinion that that the circles that the sun is doing are not perfectly concentric, and I believe that the sun is slightly off-centered, which causes the analemma shape in the sky. Otherwise, I believe that if it was concentric, the analemma would consist of a perfectly straight line.
Yeah.
Now, I might be wrong. There might be other explanations for this, but definitely, even with the ball Earth model, there is, scientists know that the sun is further away from us at the Tropic of Cancer. In fact, they say it's about 3 million miles further away from the Earth, the sun is, and it's, again, 4 or 5 million miles closer to the Earth at the Tropic of Capricorn. Now, these figures are totally exaggerated because they assume and presume that the sun is 93 million miles away from us, which it is not. And you can just do simple tests to confirm that the sun's only a few thousand miles above our heads. So probably 4,000 miles, I don't know. Some say about 5,000, 5 or 6,000 miles.
It's really interesting how you were saying that the sun travels clockwise, that Mount Meru is in the center.
You see, that sphere at the center called Earth is an anagram for heart.
Yeah.
It is always the core of the system. Core means heart. And so this is the Logos is the creator of these worlds. The Logos means word. Word in Latin is verb. Verb is vibrate, vibration. Vibration is sound. Reverberate, radiate. Now, what this is showing is that the Lord, by which name we wish to call him, Jehovah, Allah, uses energies called electricity to create material worlds. And the powerhouse which produces this vibratory force is magnetism, divine magnetism. And this force of electricity is what's called the second creator, the demiurgos, the god of matter, because it vibrates, and it uses 5 different kinds of electricity. And the 5 different kinds of electricity are the same kinds that our body uses for the senses. There is a different electrical circuitry in our nervous system for vision, for sight, for the sense of sight, and there is different electricity used for smell, and for touch, and for hearing. So light works on the sight, and vibration works on the sound. Now, usually, the two most common forms of electricity are those two there. And so this is where the Logos becomes the creator through sound, or the creator that produces through light. And so the sound that the creator uses is om, or atom, and this is why the Egyptians say all is atum, and that is the sound of creation. And all theologies have this atomic, Adamic, God-like theology, because it's all based on atomic electrical vibration. Okay, so
Atom and Adam are etymologically similar too.
yeah, and notice you said etymologically, because what is etymology if not the science of atom? It's everything is the science of atom. So is your anatomy.
Yeah.
And so, and you will find, if you look at my presentations dealing with atom, you will understand this. It's pretty clear, because the ecliptic is called atom. The sine wave is called atom. That's the big secret. That's the big secret, that all sine waves are called atom. They are all atomic. So an atom is a sine wave. It's a thought wave universe. And so when you speak about the Logos, you have the first Logos, the first cause. Then you have the second expansion. So that would be Krishna. And then he expands into Balarama, his brother. And it becomes Narayan, or Vishnu, or Mahavishnu. And then Mahavishnu is the creator of all the worlds, and then Brahma creates the physical worlds. And we'll have a look at that in a minute. But this is the Jewish Kabbalistic Hebrew system. Now, so you can see here, these are the 10 spheres, and at the very, very top is the cause and the source of all of this. Above the rose, the red rose of the Rosicrucians, you see that golden pyramid, and it points upward to the supernal empyrean. And so outside of these 10 conditions, of these 10 spheres in which we live, is the cause, the spiritual causes of these worlds, and that is the empyrean. And that is an unconditioned abode. And so out of that unconditioned abode comes all of these conditioned abodes that we witness, and we are living in one of those called the solar system. We call it a solar system, but it's a universe. We live in a universe unto itself, as we're going to see in a minute. And this is the Babylonian system. So you see a pyramid with 10 spheres, or 10 steps, 7 steps upward and 7 steps downward, and in the middle is the 15th sphere, or you could call it a sphere, but it's a plane, it's a planet, and that is the Earth. Okay, so similar system. Here are some of the scriptures which really point to a flat Earth, and in the Bible, Isaiah is a good one here. Isaiah 40:22. He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and its people are like grasshoppers. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. And so, other scriptures tell forth a lot of truth too. Joshua 10:13, where Joshua asked the Lord to make the sun stand still. Well, here this myth and cosmology is teaching that the sun has a trajectory. That's the hidden truth, the anagogic truth hiding behind these beautiful allegories and mythologies. Here is another scripture which I really enjoy. Actually, if you go back to Isaiah, it says, and continues saying, he stretches out the heavens like a canopy and spreads them out like a tent to live in. Well, if you remember my graphic of the tent-like TP structure in which the sun goes up to the Tropic of Cancer and very, very high up in the sky, and then goes down the TP on an incline to the Tropic of Capricorn. Well, this contraction expansion vortex that the sun is creating is this tent that is spread out, this tabernacle for the sun. And if you look at Psalms 19:4, it says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. There is no speech, nor are there words. Their voice is not heard. Their line," this is the ecliptic, "has gone out